All right, everyone. This is Nick Carter. I am starting a video game company, an indie company, with my friend. We'll see if we get more friends in there now. I am recording this tonight at a bar. I got my cigar and my cider, and there's one other person at the bar. They're inside, and right as I got ready to go, where's that shadow? That shadow. If I'm over here, does that work? Yes, shit. Better. So I just set up shop out here at my parents' house, and this guy, literally, as I'm hitting ready to hit record, this guy comes in with his scooter and his backpack and sat down 3 feet over there. So it was going to be nice, quiet, calm, non-interrupted. Well, let's see what happens. I know a lot of people might see me over here talking into a camera and go, "Oh, that guy needs a friend." So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Anyone talks to me, and they're going to be famous. All right. So, what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about the things I've been thinking about up until this point for starting a company. I've seen a few different videos that have offered lots of interesting insights, and I wanted to try and vlog, if you will, my thought process and experience. I've been a software engineer. I've managed lots of teams of people. I currently am a director for a software team, but I still code for fun. So I'm starting a company, like I said, with my friend, and we're going to bring all the experience we have to bear. And I wanted to capture that because making a game, obviously, you need lots of skills, coding, physics, sound, all the shit to make it look good, work good, play good, feel good, sound effects, game theory, all the shit that goes into actually what looks good on the screen. And then you need the other skills that help you organize it so it doesn't take you 40 years to make a shit game. So I'm going to talk through on this first video the tools, the thought process I had that got me here tonight. I don't have any code written. We're going to create all new thingies. Um, thingies. That's good. It's the kind of lessons you're going to learn from me is how to create new thingies and when to create them. I know I don't want to just start coding. A lot of developers just want to start coding. You get that spark of inspiration and then you just want to start coding. I will create a code repository for a playground to kind of show as I create all my stuff, but you got to have a plan of attack. And ultimately you want to make sure, before you're making the artwork, you want to know how it's going to play so you know how big the artwork's supposed to be. You want to know right now I'm thinking, is it even a 2D or a 3D player? As of earlier today, it was a 2D kind of side scrolling game, like if you're familiar with Paperboy, the old NES game from the 80s. I was thinking of something nostalgic like that, but now I'm thinking of something 3D, real simple. So I got to learn that. I've fiddled around with 2D a little bit, but 3D will be a new foray. And so I gotta, before I start coding the game, I gotta do some jacking around in 3D, see if I think it's learnable. There's two game ideas I had. One is a game I made about 10 years ago, and basically I abandoned it because it was a puzzle game, and it took me about 2 hours to create the structure for the first game, which was kind of like the training mission, just the easiest thing possible. and I knew I needed like 100 levels or something like that to be good at all. And I was like, oh, okay, well, fuck that. I'm not going to. That's why when I abandoned it, lots of physics work, all kinds of stuff. And when I realized that I was looking at 10 years of level development, I wasn't ready at the time. So I was like, well, am I ready now? I've been entertaining. That's what got me into even thinking of building a game, was wanting to revisit that. And as I started farting around with a 2D emulator, I was basically looking for sprites, found a dog sprite, thought, oh, well, let me slap together a basic story and just make a shit game I don't care about to test it out. And I got to the point where I was making up enough of a story for this shit game, and suddenly that game has caught my heart. So I'm not sure when I'm supposed to start talking about the game I want to build. It's at least a year away from launch, and I know I'm going to laugh in a year when I rewatch this, because maybe I've abandoned it. Maybe I'm 20% of the way through. Maybe it's been out for a month. I don't know. I feel like it's at least a year, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll just say that me and my friend, I can't call him partner because we're just friends. Um, we basically talked for 20 minutes today about the game, and we're both in love with it. And I'll work on it, and I'll certainly describe it as I go through. Uh, I've got the fear, as anyone would have, that someone would steal the game. As a writer, I've been okay as like writing books and novels. I've been okay with sharing my ideas publicly, because if you're writing a novel and someone steals your idea, they still can't really take your idea, because whatever you're going to write, they can't take that away from you. Like there's that time in 1998 when two different Comet movies were made, and they're not at all the same. So if I told someone I'm writing a movie about a comet hitting the Earth and everyone panicking and NASA trying to save everyone, you couldn't really steal my idea for a novel. But a video game, on the other hand, if I gave everyone the 2 minute synopsis of the game, they could run off and bam, now they've got my game. So I guess you're kind of figuring out now my style for these. I'm a podcaster. I'm used to long form podcasts. I'm used to hitting record and talking. I've got a couple notes over here. I'm used to saying fuck. I'm used to. I've never smoked a cigar. I'm used to doing this in my man cave, and I don't smoke in my man cave. But since I'm outside at the bar, hopefully the audio is clean enough. So yeah, I'm basically so I got some notes. I'm not just going to ramble on. There's some stuff I want to cover. I want this to be helpful to anyone, and I'll certainly I'll point out if I have a specific lesson or a topic. I will try to rein these in, I guess is what I'm saying, more than this intro. But because I've been stewing on this for a few days, I've got a lot of threads to untangle. And this is like I said, the first video. So I'm just going to diarrhea from my mouth onto your face. So that's how I got to the game. I'm thinking, if you're familiar with it, the Untitled Goose Game, in terms of the look and feel of a 3D game that isn't photorealistic, something that's entertaining but not going to bog me down in asset creation. I like the charm. If you haven't seen the Untitled Goose Game, you can check that out. It's a lot of fun. It won't I guess I'll see how much like that it is. I'm just thinking in terms of top down free world ish. I mean, you're contained, but you're walking around top down 3D world with 3D models, and I think they had no textures or whatnot. It looks really, really simple, and I like the look of that. So that's currently what I'm thinking, but who knows? I could spend a week on 3D graphics and go, oh, fuck this. I'm going Paperboy. If you don't know Paperboy, Paperboy for the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, a couple of clips on YouTube, I'm sure of that. So it'll be one of those two, and I'm just painting in broad strokes because I've never done this before, and two, I know not to start with making big decisions because the process itself is going to change things. Now, I do know, and I'll get into this as I go, there are certain things, there are milestones I need to plan out. I don't want to have half the game written and then start figuring out certain basic mechanics. So I gotta mock up everything. I gotta figure out how big the screen's gonna be, the camera, how far in, is there zoom in or zoom out, all that shit. So I gotta plan that out. And I guess that's it for game design. The the name, I don't know if we have any Gentlemen Broncos fans out there. The working title for my game is Broncanus. I don't know if you have to say it in the way Broncanus. It's well, if you haven't seen Gentlemen Broncos, hopefully it's funny enough without context. And I other than the name, I don't think there's anything to do with Gentlemen Broncos. I could go with a theme. I like the opening credits of that where it's the old 1970s and 80s young adult fiction book covers that have this really cool 70s style. I could take inspiration from that, but I'm not starting out with this game the thought of it being a Gentleman Broncos homage or anything. It's just a working title that makes me happy. Should I talk about Eat Flaming Death? Let's talk about Eat Flaming Death. I gotta light my smoke. Oh, it's going. You talk too much, the smoke goes out, and there's no ashtrays here, so I guess I'll just drop my ash into my lap. So, Eat Flaming Death. I I was a film major in the 90s for a couple years, and me and some of my friends, we created a production company. And when I say we created a production company, we did our assignments for film class, and we called ourselves EFD Productions. For that stood for Eat Flaming Death. I got that from Fire Sign Theater. Um, and I say I'm not sure if it was me, as my friend Josh, my friend Brian, Ken helped out, Ken Scholar. There was four of us. Um, I don't think any of us do anything related to film after that. It was a fun adventure to have at Modesto Junior College. Um, George Lucas's alma mater, I think. I know he went down to UCLA or something in Los Angeles, so he didn't only go to Modesto Junior College. But yes, I was a film major at Modesto Junior College, and we called. It's hard to say our group when we did our assignments. We added made by EFD Productions. It's been 30 30 years this year. It was the mid 90s, 95, 96 when we were doing that. So none of the other people have, as far as I know, created a company called Eat Flaming Death, or EFD. It makes me happy. That's 90% of the reason why I took it. I looked around. There's at least two entities called Eat or EFD Productions. One of them seems to be an audio video thing that hasn't posted in 6 years. And the other one's a gaming company. So EFD Productions exists as a gaming company. I hope I hope that it's not that EFD stands for something else other than Eat Flaming Death, because I'm taking Eat Flaming Death, and I don't care what their EFD stands for. I spoke with my sister. She agreed that Eat Flaming Death was way better than EFD anyway, and I agree in terms of the type of game we want to make. I Googled it looking for companies or other things with that name. Both me and my friend. I'll probably start to mention his name. I'll see if he wants to be on these with me or not. We'll figure that all out as we go. But basically, he saw, I guess there's some German comic in the World War II times that was the first one to put Eat Flaming Death together. And then, as I was mentioning, Firesign Theater, which was a comedy troupe, a Monty Python-esque comedy troupe who made albums. And in 1975, they released an album. And there was something about an award show. And in one of the skits, there was a person who was trying to win a chance to say, "Eat Flaming Death, you fascist pigs," or something like that. It was some kind of prize on this comedy sketch, and that impressed us a lot. The Eat Flaming Death thingy. My match broke. It lit on fire, and it broke, and the flaming part fell down right next to the computer, not on the computer. See, this is high drama. I've seen Asmongold take a break from his live cast to go take a shit. So I figure you guys can handle me fucking around on camera. Should I edit this out? I'm not used to editing out anything. I'm used to hitting record. I'm used to hitting record, talking, hitting stop, and then hitting the upload button. That's how I want to do it. 15 years ago, I was doing podcasts where I would import the whole thing into Pro Tools, edit out every stammer, every all that shit. And I've seen a lot of polished videos, and fair enough. I guess this is just going to be my personality, is long form, all kinds of stuff. Not really tutorials, or maybe if there's a tutorial. If I do a tutorial, then I will invest in rewarding you with a edited, scripted, in and out kind of an experience. Otherwise, this is just my journey through. All right, let's attempt number 3. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 All right. So, Eat Flaming Death. That's the name of the company. The name of the game. Well, the working title is Brocanus. Sorry, Brocanus. I can talk about tools. Let's talk about AI first. My friend has a family member who makes video game art, I believe, for professional companies. So I love the idea of paying artists and craftsmen. I also like the idea of not paying hundreds or thousands of dollars of money to see whether or not I'm worth a shit as a operator of a game company or can make a good game. So the question I have is how much AI to use. As a software engineer, I use AI every time I code. It offers me code suggestions. I just saw a YouTube video, goddamn ash on my shirt. I just saw a video where someone made a whole 3D world wandering around sword fighting ogres. The entire thing was made with 3D. I'm not doing that. I intend to write all the code. Maybe AI, I don't even know if AI can help me make sure my logic's correct. Because that, like I was saying, that's all I do is I start writing a line of code and AI says, "Hey, how about this line?" And like, yeah, fine enough. But I don't ask ChatGPT to spit me out a game. I am absolutely going to experiment with getting cheap assets. And when I say cheap, I mean free. I haven't tried generating an image, so I'm sure I'll do a video. Here's the question I've got for you. If you're looking at the camera, should I fuck around and fumble through on on camera, or should I learn it all and teach you? I can't imagine anyone wanting to watch me fumble around for 3 hours. I guess I could Twitch it. Twitch is kind of a different thing. So as I discuss, boy, I didn't realize this video was going to be setting up the ground rules for this channel. I think I shouldn't fuck around and learn new technologies on YouTube. If I want a Twitch channel and just let people watch me, Discord, I could have a I could do the whole thing. We'll figure out what would help me, what would help you guys, because like I said, the main, well, I haven't even said this yet. The main goal of this is to help people. There's going to be a ton of videos on making games, and then this would be my video on starting a business on the cheap. So AI, have I said enough? I'm not going to rely entirely on AI. I'm not. Oh, AI music? I'm going to fart around with all of it and see what I can get. I'm a musician. I've got a MIDI keyboard. I've got the ability to write all my own music. Is it going to be Shakespeare? The Shakespeare? What's the Shakespeare of music? Beethoven? I did see the Goose Game, the Untitled Goose Game, basically has old music. When I say old music, I mean so old it's out of um, whatever they call that. So it's no longer owned. You no longer have to purchase rights. So the you take a song that's 150 years old and then you just play it on a keyboard and now it's your music and you didn't need to compose shit because it is out of copyright. I could do that. Obviously, if I use someone else's version of it, they may have copyright to that or ownership or licensing or I don't know. A thousand things I got to figure out. But in terms of AI, I do intend to use cheap assets if this keeps going and I find that it might be worth money someday. I have money to pay a real artist to make something. And then there's going to be a whole discussion as we go about the ethics of using AI. When is AI taking a job from someone else? And is that the future? Is that worth fighting? All of that. That's why I'm going to go for a long form discussion because I want to get into all of that kind of stuff as I go and not just have this be tutorials. All right. So that's it for AI, just my little tease. Tools. All right. Does everyone know what a code repository is? Basically, if you got code, you want version control, you want a source of truth. Yeah, if you got two people on the team, this becomes really important. You don't want to be emailing back and forth code files. You want a system that has the source of truth, and then your changes get merged in with someone else's changes, and you can go back in time and say, wait, what was that file a month ago? All that stuff. So I use Git, which is the industry standard now. I can't imagine that they used to be a new flavor of everything. You know, if you were on Windows, you used one thing. Uh, you know, the Subversion, Team Foundation. There's just all kinds of ways to do this, and then Git kind of became the why would you use anything else? So Git you can just use on your machine, and then you get version history. But to really use it with other people, you want a centralized web server. So github.com is the location, basically a cloud service which lets you create Git repositories, and then people can have permissions to, you can make it public or private, anyone can see it. People can make changes and then suggest them and say, hey, here's a change. You can merge it or not merge it, or you can have people on the team and they can merge it itself. So it's a pretty full featured tool for multiple people that you trust, and even open source with the open community where anyone can make a suggestion and then only the people you trust can approve it or reject it. So it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna start filling out my tools while you watch. I did a little bit of setup work. Let's see if I go over to here. Oh, I can't see the screen. Can you see this all? Let me move this over here. Yes. Oh, and that looks terrible. Let's see. Let's try to get this looking good. I'm glad I did my homework. Okay. Okay. Can you see that all the way to the edge? All right. Now you can see the whole screen except for what's covered by me. Sip of cider. A sip of cider is going to last me 6 months, or this pint of cider. All right. So this is my personal account. I created an organization called Eat Flaming Death. I'm going to create a repository. This is my Git repository. This is not the first time I've done this, so I don't mind you seeing me. This isn't me fumbling around. New repository. Procanus. Um, Sandbox or POC? POC being proof of concept. Let's call it sandbox. No, POC. This is where I will proof of concepts different things, try stuff without worrying about making one consistent game. I can make thousands of little games in here or whatnot. Just try out one thing, revisit it if I want. But this will basically be how I prove out, not like, again, not just the game, but each little thing that I think will be a challenge. I can do it in isolation and learn how to do it. Since it's just for me and people I know, I'm going to keep it private. I don't want most games, especially a game. I intend to sell this game. I do have to talk about where I want, because mobile's got an ecosystem, and then well, I'm thinking for at least the game I'm excited to make needs a controller or a keyboard and a mouse. Can't really be done with a phone. So, a directional pad or directional keys on the keyboard, and then buttons to click, directional looking around. Maybe, probably not actually. Anyway, I'm going to try all of these things out in isolation in my POC folder. And one day I'm going to sell it. I imagine Steam, Steam Deck, Nintendo Switch, Mac, PC, consoles if I'm feeling crazy, anything with a controller or keyboard and mouse. And since I intend to sell it, I'm going to keep it private because I don't want anyone cloning it and going live with my game first. So that's why it's private. It makes sense to have it be private. If anyone wants in on the company, we'll set up some sort of legal relationship. Otherwise, you don't get to see my code. Add a README file. It'll be empty. As far as I know, there's not really a problem with it being empty. I'll add an empty README file and then a git ignore. The git ignore file will be created. I know the dev tool I use to write the code, it will create that for me. So I will not add a git file. I'll leave that at none. In fact, I'm not going to add a README because that I can create that later. Choose a license. There's no license because no one's going to get this code. All right, create repository. Blammo. So I've got an empty. I got an empty situation here, but then I can clone it down. I'll show you. I'll show you how to clone it later. I don't have it set up now in my video recording stuff to show my command line tools. I like using Git with command line. There are programs you can use, but the operation, there's only a couple operations I do. I can go really deep in like Git flow, branching strategy. I can go into all kinds of shit. I guess leave a comment if you want to go deep on a branching strategy. I generally don't like Git flow because if you are just one developer, you don't need a branching strategy because it's not like you and five other people are making changes, and you have to figure out how often to share code with each other. And you just end up with a lot of overhead, doing a lot of work to keep your changes separate from other people's changes who don't exist. So you're basically wasting effort. And also, if you're on a team and you store your changes off in a branch, then you're not merging your changes with other people's changes frequently enough to know if you're fucking with each other. So for all of these reasons, I used to love Git Flow is the name of it. Strategy for branching. I don't do that at all. So there's the idea you have your mainline trunk development branch where all the changes you make every day are, and then maybe you can create a release branch. So once I deploy a version, I'll create just a little snapshot of that so I can always go back to that. And that's probably all I'm going to do with Git. But Git is it's a with what Git can do, you can do a lot of really cool things that make code maintainable for a long time. You know, in a company with thousands of developers, you can go as crazy as you want. And I'm going to kind of explain my way through using it simply because I'm not in a company with thousands of people. So I will show that at another time. What I do with this now, just know that I have a code repository now. It's completely empty. You can see it's completely empty here because I have instructions on how to do things. And if it wasn't empty, then I would actually see what was there. If there was a file here, I would see it. If there was a folder and files, I would see that all here. But because it's empty, I see the instructions on how to set it up. So that's the first tool. The second tool, you need something to keep track of your work, the work you want to do. So tickets. I follow Agile. Specifically, most of my career, it's been Scrum. Scrum is a way of doing Agile meant to empower a group of people, a group of developers. Basically, let's say you work for a big company, pick any big company. Let's pick Google. You work at Google, you've got lots of teams, everyone's doing all kinds of stuff, but ultimately you get down to a team. Let's say there's 10 people working on Google Calendar. You want them to be empowered to write the code that they should write, but you also need to tell them what you need to write. So Agile Scrum is the way a business can have a multi-year strategic plan while also empowering the team and not just telling them exactly what to do. Because you don't hire engineers to tell them exactly what to do. You hire engineers to tell them the goal. So that's the point of Scrum, is to respectfully share a vision and bite-sized chunks of work with a development team without telling them exactly what to do. I don't think I need to do that. There's another system called Kanban. Kanban, I guess the main difference, well, there's lots of difference. I'm not going to get into it. Sprints, for the short version of sprints, you go in like 2 week chunks. You start and stop. And the idea is, you could do frequent deliverables and everyone, you say, all right, you got 2 weeks to do as much of this as you can. And then when we're done, maybe we'll do a release. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to not worry about a 2 week cycle. I'm just going to code when I code and release when I feel like it. Kanban's good for that. I could do a whole lesson on Kanban. The interesting parts of Kanban done properly are the little flow gates that stop you from clobbering another team. If you got 50 developers and one tester, then that tester is going to be falling farther and farther behind, and just every developer will drop 20 tasks in the tester's queue each week, and they'll just fall farther behind. And then Kanban has limits where you can say, hey, you can't just drop more shit into the tester's box because there's a limit here, and then everyone knows, ah, shit, we're moving far ahead. I'm not going to have a team like that. I'm not going to have people who do only development and people who only do test, and I want to enforce some sort of mechanism to bring awareness to the organization at large. With two people, and starting with two people, I'm inclined to go Kanban without limits, which just means I've got a long list of things that can be worked on, a column for things that are being worked on, and a column for things that are completed. So in theory, everything that can be done is in the first list, and you just drag shit out. And I'll show you what I use and how to do this. There's a lot of solutions for this. I'll show you what I use. But in theory, you've got all the things you can do on the column on the left, and they're in order. So the thing you want to do next is at the top of the list. And then the super oversimplifies because, if you want to have let's say you want the settings page. Well, that settings page has, like, let's say there's 10 different settings in there. Each of those settings could be a ticket, but they're grouped by settings. So I'll show you how this works um, as we do it. But there's a hierarchy. You can say, all right, well, all the settings things are grouped together so you can go find them. We do that with things called epics and or features. I'll show how we do all of that. But yeah, basically at some point, you just start with brainstorming. What's the game going to be? And then eventually you create tickets that would give you all that functionality. You don't need all the tickets to make the whole game before you start, but you need enough tickets to get to your milestones. So these are the things you're going to see my thought process in. I'm just going to show you, That's the kind of thing I know I need to do. So I have a tool that's going to do it. The tool I use is, well, Atlassian's the company. Jira is the tool for ticketing. And then Atlassian has another tool called Confluence, which is like a blog or a document repository. So as I think through the design, and maybe I make, mock-ups or just like a wiki page. Here's what the settings are going to be. Here's what the home page is going to be. Basically, just text and diagrams and notes and things like that. So documentation, planning documentation, my strategies, my definitions, anything I want to capture is going to be in Confluence. Now you can get free Jira and free Confluence for, I think it's less than 10 people. And since I'm just going to have 2 people, it jumps up in price if you got a bigger team. And there are things, Trello, there's a lot of things. If you Google free Scrum board, you can find that. You can use Google Docs for the documentation. Um, I guess that's something else I'll tease. The way I am, the way I'm wired, and I'll get into it with specific tools. I'm not going to say an activist. I'm conscientious when I choose the companies whose tools I will use. I don't want to be giving business to a company I would consider, I don't want to say evil, manipulative, censorship, pro censorship. I'm against that. Um, Super activisty in terms of, my politics are this way, and anyone who doesn't have the exact same politics as me, fuck you. You can't use my shit. Companies like that, I'm against that. Obviously, selling data, manipulating stuff. I wrote a book about social media years ago. I'm fairly opinionated when it comes to companies that have free stuff. And the reason why it's free is because governments and companies are paying for the product to fuck you over. So I will, I'm fairly in tune with that. If a product heads down anything I don't like, I'll share it with you. Um, not to shit on any one company or tell you what to do. Just I try to, if there's a open source community dedicated to doing good work that isn't polluted with some kind of nefarious thing I disagree with, then um, I try to find those. And by disagree with, I don't care. Like if it's owned by someone and they voted for someone that I didn't vote for, I don't care about that. It's really when I say disagree, I mean they have a stance that I can't abide. Something like censorship or manipulation, stuff like that. So that's that's another intro to me. So Atlassian, I don't have any problems with them. I haven't heard of anything. I don't know what their politics are. I'm not going to look into that. Again, I don't care. It's uh, do they tell like half the country go fuck yourself because I like half the country and hate the other half? That's what I'm looking for. Um, so let's set that up. I'm going to put my cigar down because this might involve some typing. So let's create Confluence first. If you go to Atlassian.net, I don't know if I'm logged in. You can get it for free. You can log in. You can do all this stuff. There's tons of tutorials there. I'm not going to show you much uh, on how to get that. But eventually I got to Confluence. This is an instance I created long ago, and I can't rename it until I pay them. So I've deleted all the stuff. It's my costume shop DB. I wrote a program 4 years ago. Costume shop DB. So it's still there. So don't come and find me. Don't try to fuck with me. For sure. Is that a page? No, I want to create a space. Okay, I've got the URL for the page, but I'm going to create a space. So a space is an area for what you're working on. So it could be a team. If I'm just one company, then I could say, like, I could have a space for game design, a space for marketing, a space for monetization, anything where you want to group it together. If I have several projects like this game and maybe the mobile game, when it comes time for me to build the game I did 10 years ago, I would create a space for that. So just think of a space as a collection of documents around a theme or whatnot. So this, I'll create a space for gameplay. So Brocanus gameplay. You're also going to find when you watch me type that I am too slow at taking my finger off the shift, and I've got to go back. All right, choose an icon. Well, that's my hot dog. And then you got lots of templates here. So what is this going to be? Not a knowledge base. Collaboration. I'll probably just leave it collaboration. It'll kind of create some shit for you. The space key is going to be a couple letters in front of, like here, 67 BPM or 67 PM is that space key. So it's in the URLs and in the ticket names or the page names. So it doesn't really matter. I'm fine with BGP. I'm going to hit next. Do I want blogs? I don't need blogs because who needs an internal blog when you got two people? Whiteboards, databases. Look at all this shit. Well, I'll leave that all on and get rid of it later. So this is going to think for a while. Now I'm going to go over. Oh, that's pretty quick. Did I shit? I'm such a bad person. I didn't even turn on the web thing. Should I create that all again? Let's create that all again. I know you're going to want to see that. So let's go to spaces. Spaces. View all spaces. I'm just going to delete this space and then do that again. Here's my other spaces, my business strategy. So I'm going to delete my. How do I delete it? Well, let's create the business strategy one. Then I'll come back to it. All right, you guys are the best. Let's create a space. So I'm going to say Brocanus business strategy. Let me make sure you can see this all. Yes, that's better. It's a collaboration site. Customize the space key. It should be BBS. That's fine. Let me move this out of the way so you see. So space key, and then I hit next. And then I can have blogs, which I don't need a blog, like I said. Whiteboards. I'm going to fuck around with whiteboards. This is new stuff. I'm going to create a space, and then it's just whip, 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 whip. Now I have a bunch of changeable pages. So I can just read this. We can organize things. Welcome to whatever. I can edit this page. Oh, how do you edit? You edit with the edit button. And then you can just, the purpose of this space, blah, blah, blah. And then you can add all kinds of neat widgets. There's all kinds of things you can add, tables, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to, the point here is not to show you how to use this. Just this is what I have. This is going to be my shared documentation. It's not Google Docs. And then I can create pages under this page. And this is just my way of organizing my thoughts, writing down, because I know it's going to be important to me to figure out what settings I want. For example, do I want high contrast gameplay for people with like colorblind or other ADA concerns? And I want to figure that out in the beginning, so I'm not trying to add that at the end. So the thousand decisions I have to make along the way, I would create a page, drop my mission for that, my plan, and without worrying about tickets or anything, just kind of get agreement on the target. Let's go to my Jira tab. This is Jira. This is a list of projects. So product discovery, that looks fun. I'll probably go into that. That's kind of a long-term roadmap kind of a thing where you can say, here's the high-level concepts I want this year, something in the next 6 months. You can kind of look at you can you can prioritize all the different kinds of big ideas that you have. And then you say, okay, this one I want done in the next 3 months. And then you can bring that into a team managed software kind of a thing. So let's create a project. General service management or product roadmap. I'm going to, what is that? Made for me. So I don't want service management. So you can quickly start managing incoming service requests. Yeah, see, I don't. So that's like a ticketing system. Like, so customers can request support. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing software development. So I'm going to click the software development. And I mentioned Kanban, which is just a list of work uh, that could be done, is being worked on, and has been completed. And you can add stuff. You can add more columns. For example, if you have a test team, you maybe want a column for is in development, is ready for test, is in, yeah. Sorry, all of them would be is ready for development, is in development, is ready for test, is in test, and is done. Just to throw out that. So depending on what your team is shaped like, you can make a column that's appropriate for each of the states. That's what I'm going to pick is Kanban. Now, Scrum, like I said, Scrum gets you a lot of different things. It's not really, if you've got a little tiny company, Scrum's going to add things that don't really help you, like a 2-week iteration with a beginning and an end. And you're supposed to go, okay, this 2 weeks are over. Let's start the next 2 weeks. Let's plan that out. And if you're not really working that way, there's no benefit to working that way if there's 2 people in the company. So I have not tried. I also don't pay for premium. So top level planning, I don't know. Cross team planning, I don't know. Product discovery is what I mentioned. Organize and prioritize product ideas. Road mapping. Figuring that out. All I want to do, if anything, I would have 2 stages. I would just have a proof of concept, and basically with the milestone. Well, there's proof of concept, and then there's the initial release. And so, I guess the milestone for transitioning to the initial release is enough definition to know exactly what I'm building for the initial release. But that's kind of it. I'm not dealing with frequent multiple releases, at least yet. If I had a team of 50 people and we were putting out a new level or a new this or that every couple of months, then yes, that would be when I would want a roadmap. Bug tracking, you can track bugs in Kanban and Scrum. What bug tracking does is it just gives you a flat list of bugs that you can just prioritize them. So it's more of the structure Here's a bug, I want you to fix it. Is it fixed or not? It's what Jira first started out with. It's their oldest thing. Looks like development and tasks and bugs, but it doesn't have the tools to help you prioritize and track work over time. So let's go with Kanban. Japanese word for blah, 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 blah. I'm getting all of this. So here's where we go and talk about the types of tickets. So the epic is a big thing. What you want all of these things to be, you want them to be something that take a day or an hour or a week is what you would want ultimately to assign to a person. You don't want something that's going to take 3 months because these systems don't help you if you just create one ticket, which is write the game, or two tickets, like write the game and then write the settings. Like you might as well not have a ticket if it doesn't help you break the work into smaller pieces and prioritize. So that's the point of this. So the epic is a high level concept, something that may take a while. You don't really do the epic, you prioritize your epics. And then below the epics is a story, and I'm over here on this part of the screen. A story, a bug, or a task. Story is in Agile. It describes a piece of work. I'm not going to get too far in the theory, but basically you're describing the work in a way that doesn't tell the developer what to do. Something like telling the developer what to do is like make a pencil next to the name, and when you click on the pencil, a box shows up where the user can change their name, and then a accept or cancel, and if they press the accept button, then it will save it, and if you press the cancel button, it will go back with that. That's telling the developer exactly what to do. A story would be the concept of this system should allow the user to change their name. So there should be a way to initiate changing their name and then saving it. And you don't tell the developer exactly what to do. You let them solve the problem, but you tell them, oh, it's important that users change the name. Or maybe it's not important, but that's the thing is you write down functionality. Who's doing the thing, what you want them to do. And you let the developer, the people doing the UI, you let all the people figure out the how. So that's what a story is a story is basically a user story. It describes from the user's point of view, what behaviors do you want? Bug is a bug. It's something that doesn't work. You expected it to do something. So there's an expected result. There's an actual result. The actual results should be different than the expected result because that's what a bug means. A task is, I guess it can be, you can use it however you want. How I've seen it used is tasks are often things that don't get put into the product itself. So a story is something in the product, like ability to change the user's name. A task would be something like figure out how to publish the app in on Steam, or write this documentation, or buy these certificates, or something like that. So a task generally, and like I said, you can do anything you want with it. But what I've always done is tasks are non-code, non-product changes. Artwork might be a story, but documenting, brainstorming gameplay or something like that would be a task because it's not actually code or art or music. And then a subtask is the last thing. Subtask is a child. So that remember, the epic's the top level for organizing big pieces of work. Storybug and tasks are the three pieces, and you can create more than just this. Let's say if you got a UI team or a documentation team, and you really want them to be first-class citizens and get their own kind of documentation, you can create multiple issue types. But I'm just going to go with these. And then a subtask is work that could be under a story, a bug, or a task. So, if something is, add the ability to change a user's name. There could be 3 or 4 subtasks under that. So the UI piece, the button, the save and cancel. Another thing can be making an API call or writing to the database, making sure it's, your data validation. It can't be blank or too many characters. So subtask lets you break something into smaller, discrete work. That becomes more important if you're on a team with a lot of people, especially if you got to give some of that work to someone else. Subtasks let you break it up. I probably won't use subtasks at all on a team of 2 people. I'll just have a story or a task or a bug. I'll move it into process. I'm working on it. And then when I'm done, I'm done, and not necessarily create a lot of subtasks because I don't need to communicate out. I'll do it if it helps. Agile reports, blah, blah, blah. So this is all of this is just a description of Kanban. I know what it is, so I'm happy I'm going to use this template. Can y'all see this? Let's move my face over here. Nice, nice. Project template Kanban. Choose a project type. Team managed, company managed. Well, let's go with team managed. What's the difference when the company is the team? Set up and maintained by your team, set up and maintained by your Jira admins. Oh, well, because everyone on the team is going to be an admin, I'll leave it as team managed. Yeah, anyone on the team can set up and maintain. I'll leave it as that. So everyone can see. I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't really matter when the team is the company. Now, it'd be more important if you're at a 5,000 person company and a 10-person team shouldn't really have if you're making medical devices and you need certain things always in a ticket and you set up your rules, blah, blah, blah. I've talked too much about this. Name, bro, Canis, dev, dev. That's great. Brocanus Dev. This is development. BD. Oh no. Sorry, I'm laughing because there's a company named BD. And I'm gonna change this so it doesn't say BD. I think it's a B dev. Okay, good. Now I won't be twitching every time I see that. Um, open, anyone can edit this project because this is locked down. I'm not a company of 5,000 people, and I want to make sure that the new hire doesn't go in and fuck around. I'm just going to leave it open, especially because I have to pay money to lock it down. Okay, so this is good. I'm happy. I'm going to hit next. It's going to think. It's going to think. It's going to think. Okay, that's pretty quick. So, I can connect. But by connecting this, you can see ticket numbers in Confluence and back and forth. So I'm gonna connect. Oh no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Can I go back and do it? Oh, I can't do it. I've blown it. All right, let's try that setting. Well, I will try to wire that up. I don't know how important that's going to be. So as I was saying, these are the columns. To do is everything that could be done, and in progress are things that are actively being worked on. In theory, there's not like, if there's a 2-person team, you don't have 18 things in here. You try to start 1 or 2 things and then finish them. That starts to get into development theory. So let's create a ticket just to get things going. Create issue. Um, I'll say this: create project, create Kanban structure. All right, I just created that. That's my bdev-1. That's the ticket number. So, and that's all it is. And that's the title. If you click on this, now I've got the actual ticket. I can click on this and see it in another tab. Right now it's a pop-up in a modal, but I come over here, it's got that ticket. I can add a lot of things. I can add my description, blah, blah, blah. Tracks history, who's it assigned to? I can assign it to me because I haven't added, that may or may not be the name of my partner. Sorry, my friend. I can assign this to me. Oh, I'll have to see about create branch and commit because I'm not using Atlassian does have a Git repository called Bitbucket, and you can connect all of these things together. But I'm using GitHub for my cloud repository. So I have no clue what create branch or commit's going to do because branches and commits are in code repositories. Now, it could be really cool if you were a regulated industry like gambling or medical or financial. It may be very important to show a chain of custody from your requirements to your work to the code change, in which case you may want to create a commit, which would point to a specific uh, commit of code. You know, all the changes you make to honor that ticket would be in a commit or a branch. I'm not doing any of that. I don't care for any of that. These wouldn't work anyway, because unless I hook this up to GitHub, which I haven't done yet, so it wouldn't work. But anyway, so I can write down what's going on with this. People can add comments. Looks like you can call out attention to certain things. Um, that's all fine. I'm going to save my blah, blah, blah. I can add a comment, bitch and comment. See the history on it. I can log work if you're that kind of organization to show how many hours you've done, all the activity, basically all the notes you want in here for the work you're going to do. You can add an epic if I wanted to structure these all together. I'm not going to do that. Let's go back to the other tab. I'll go ahead and refresh this. And so in theory, you just start creating a bunch of things to figure out what you're going to do. And again, I'm not walking through the structure of how I'm going to tackle this. I'm just showing you the tools. I know the kinds of decisions I'm going to make. Eventually, I'm going to have a long list of things that are to do. Let me create a second one so you can see. Smoke a cigar. My cigar is out. I have to take care of that. So, and then you can drag and drop these in different order. So that's the main reason why I wanted to. So you can prioritize them by dragging them in one order. And now in progress, I'm working on the Kanban structure. So I dragged it to in progress. And that's, couldn't be easier to prioritize and communicate progress. And done. If I wanted to get creative, you can see you can create a column. So if I wanted to create like ready for testing, I could create that there. And then those would go into statuses. So if I go back to here, well, let's open it here. There should be a status, and now the status should be in progress. Oh, there it is, in progress. I can change that back. There's to do and done. If I put it to done, it'll drop in the other column. I'll put it back to do. Is there a save button? I don't think there's a save button. So it should good, and it did drop back there. Let's create an epic to fart around. Looked like there's a couple ways to do it. Looks like you could have created an epic in here. Yeah, add epic. I'll create. Let's do that first. So I'll hit the create button, and now you can create any of the things you want to create and then specify it. So there's task and epic. Oh, that's interesting. I would have expected to see bug in there. I'll go fart around to see why I don't see it. So let's create an epic. Epic will be video number 1, which is the video I'm recording right now. I obviously am not planning this out now because I'm almost done. But let's say video number 2. I can figure out what's going to go and what's going to go into video number 2. Good enough for me. Now I'm going to click this, and I don't think it's going to show up because it's not. Yeah, see, it's not visible because these are things that can be done. And an epic, like I said, it's either done or not done, but you can say whether you're working on it. There can be some epics that you haven't started yet, but like I said, epics are there for planning. So I can create another thing. Where do I see the epics? Releases or oh, this is fun. Oh, I'm gonna have some fun fucking around with this. So that's the board. Timeline. I think this is when you start to get into the epics. Yeah, so you can start to say when am I going to do that epic? So I can say, oh, maybe I'm going to do that in March, and I'm going to start it on this date, and it'll be done on this date. So you can plan that out. Like I said, epics are for putting into an order a big chunk of work. So let's go ahead and create. Let's pretend on the next video I'm going to make a martini. Make a martini. I'm assuming in here is a thing for epics, or do I add that later? Oh, martini doesn't end with an N. How about that? Task. I do want to find out why I don't have bugs in here, but I don't need to do that in front of you all. Words not enough to have to add an emoji. Yeah, maybe not. Assignee labels. You can just add a tag to it. I'm not going to add a drink label because it'll be around forever. Select parent. So that would be the epic. Team. I don't have different teams. So maybe I'll edit out team. This is very customizable. I can link to an issue, so two things can be peers of each other related a certain way. So I'm just going to create that. And ultimately, what I want to get is you can see a way to filter it. So you see that the epic is here. I can check out the timeline for that. There's all kinds of reports to see if your team's going fast or slow. Group by epic. So I can group them all. I know there was a way to see only a certain epic, but that's basically it. So these two tools are going to do almost all of my work for me in terms of strategizing, capturing my ideas, breaking the elephant into bite-sized pieces. These are the tool I'm going to use. Now let's talk about how long have I been going? Long time, long time. Oh, only an hour and 14. Oh, nice. The tool I'm using to write code, the actual video game. is an open source engine called Redot. Red Dot. I'm not sure. There. This is based on an open source project called Godot. Godot. There are, I'll say, there are better engines like Unity. Um, there's all kinds of stuff out there, but they cost a lot of money, and all of them seem to be suffering from chasing after corporate sponsors. Like I know, is it Unity or like one of them? They've gone after like people have started making movies in this 3D renderer thing. So that's their focus is getting Hollywood dollars. And Godot, which Redot, I want to call it Redot, but people don't call it Redot because Godot is Godot. Um, basically, there's two things. They did take a very they've gotten very political, very fuck you to people who don't have the same politics as them, which I don't like. Very activisty. You know, people say, "Hey, shouldn't we just focus on making a game engine?" You know, you get blocked and banned for even saying that. So they did that, and they're going after corporate money, which when you have an open source community, you want. I hear there's hundreds of those pull requests I was talking about. People out in the community write a feature that would help the indie game people, you know, the intended audience. You know, there'd just be hundreds of things out there ready to go to be added to the system that don't get added because they're prioritizing the features that the big corporate donors are asking for. And so you end up with what basically all the other things are. Once you start to get a taste of the big dollars, you then that's who you're going for. And you forget the roots, you forget helping out the community of small developers. And so since I'm starting as a small developer, I don't need the features, the loot cases, the loot boxes, the whatever it is the big players are looking for. I don't need that. So for all of these reasons, uh, Rito was forked, which basically this was up on GitHub too. Godot was, and someone forked, which is just a way of saying I've taken where they're at now and I've made my own code repo. And so it's got its own team of people who are trying to build a friendlier community, friendlier to small developers. I all of my research in how to use this, I search for Godot, like how to make a 2D sprite walk across the screen, how to make gravity, how to do all of that. I still search for Godot because it's the same code. This only branched off a couple months ago, so it doesn't have its own documentation, and it doesn't need it yet. It will build as they diverge and get more and more different. Then the more redot tutorials will start to come online. But for now, they're pretty much equivalent. They just one has a better direction. It feels like. So I chose this. I'm not going to wake up one day and find out that I have to pay thousands of dollars a day to Unity or some other game engine because this is open source. So I'm basically learning this. I just Googled it, got to the redotengine.itch.io. Current version is 4.3. I just downloaded it and I got the program on my machine. I'm not going to, I'll start it up another day because I don't have my screen set up. So that'll be the next video. I can create my tickets for that. The next video will be cloning the repository, creating my first batch of code in the proof of concept thingy. And who knows, maybe I will make a 2D something that moves left and right on the screen. Just something I can do real quick so you can see what that looks like. I'm probably not going to show you my learning process because God, no one wants to watch that. But I will show you how I use the tools just to get you up and running, because most of these tutorials I see online assume you're up and running and just learning a technique. So that's what I'm doing. So that's where I'm at. I think this is a great spot to end. We'll see where I'm at in a year. Maybe I'll say what's going on in my personal life in another video. It's an emotional time surrounding the kinds of problems you can expect to have when you're in your 50s and the older generation. Um, it's not why I'm doing this. It's just something going on. It kind of feels like a good time to do something, chase after a dream. So that's where I'm at. I hope you get something out of this. I hope I hope I keep making these. I hope I don't give up or fail. I hope I make $7 million. I think that's it. Is that good? Yeah, I think you got me. All right, thank you. I'm Nick Carter from Eat Flaming Death Game Empire, signing off.